Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Addie. I am a mom to 2 little girls and I have not done a breastfeeding video in so long, so I thought it was time to get back and do that. And I thought that since my little one just turned 1 and it's the time where a lot of people start weaning, that I thought it might be good to do a video on weaning for you and how that process works and maybe give you some tips on weaning. Because at this stage, honestly, women wean for so many different reasons, and so I just thought I could provide some tips to help you get to the stage where you want to be, because some people like to totally wean and completely be free. Some people just like to cut out a few feedings. Wherever you happen to be, I just hope that this video can help you get there. So before we start, please hit the subscribe button below, give this video a thumbs up, and let's get to it. The first thing that I would suggest is that if you're gonna go through the weaning process, do it gradually, not only for your baby and you and your emotions and their emotions and the struggle that they can kind of go through when you start cutting feedings out, but also for your milk supply. Because if you just suddenly cut out a bunch of feedings, your breasts have the ability to get clogged, you can get mastitis, it can be really painful. So I would really highly suggest doing it very gradually. If there's another reason why you need to completely abruptly wean, that is a whole different discussion. But if you are just, starting to wean and want to wean your child, I would suggest doing it as gradually as possible. I think that weaning at 1 and later, you don't have to wean at 1, but weaning at 1 or later is the best time to wean, because you don't need to supplement with formula, which makes things a little bit easier in something that is not inherently easy. When you start this process, I would say that you should expect to be giving more cuddles, to be giving more attention, and just to make sure that you provide that sense of touch for your child that they may start to miss from those nursing sessions. So just make sure that you are finding other ways to connect with your child physically, because that physical touch is really important for babies. They just don't have, the mental capacity to understand that you're still their support, you're still their emotional balance, you're still all the things that nursing provides. They can't understand that you're still that if you just stop nursing. So making sure that you still find ways to provide that sense of security and relationship and bonding with them through touch is really important as you start to wean. So to get started, the first thing I would do is just figure out what your goal is. Are you trying to wean completely? Are you just trying to cut out a few sessions? Whatever your goal is, that is like what you need to start with. So maybe you're nursing 4 times a day at 1, and you want to get rid of, 3 of those feeds. So what you should do is just pick one. Pick one that you want to start with and one that you want to cut out. I think personally that a feeding in the daytime is the easiest. They're usually tired and kind of groggy and want things in the morning, and then they are sleepy and tired and cranky at night. So those 2 are the hardest for me to kind of give up, but one in the day is the easiest. So I would pick one of those if I were you. And the way that I would start to do it, honestly, is not even to make it a big deal. Just don't offer to baby, but also don't refuse it either in the beginning. Just kind of see how things go. See what weaning might look like. Gauge what your child, his demeanor is at the time, because that'll help you determine how, strict or lenient you need to be with your child going forward. So I would just say don't offer, but don't refuse. And you'd be surprised in the daytime how distracted they can be by other things and not even come near you. Or you can just kind of curb it and, hand them a snack real quick and see if that is enough of a distraction. I would say if you have a nursing chair or a place you normally nurse on the couch or just somewhere that you normally nurse, I would stay away from that area if you're trying to wean, because that will be an instant cue to your baby that, oh yeah, nursing, that's where I nurse. So try to stay away from that spot if you have a particular spot if you're trying to wean. And then, as I said, distractions, with toys or with other people. Go outside on a walk, offer a snack. Something to distract them from that nursing time often is enough to just, curb that feeding altogether. Once you have then gotten that feeding under control, once you've gone a few days or a few weeks or, however fast or slow you're trying to wean, then you can then think about if you want to cut out another feeding. So in the example I was giving, you started with 4. So maybe you've cut out 1, you're at 3 now, and you want to cut out another. So you want to get down to 2. Again, for me, I would cut that other day feed because I think it's the easiest. So why not? You have meals and snack time in the day that gives them the nutrition. You can always just, give them a cup of milk or some yogurt to kind of get some of that healthy fat in there as well. So I just think that's the easiest, the most distracting, and just the most simple way to cut out a feeding. So I would suggest doing that second day feed to cut out next, and just use the same process that you did before. I would start by not telling them to nurse or offering to nurse, but also not refusing. And then as a few days go by, just see how it goes and use the distraction method, offering snacks method, and just, play it by ear and be gentle with your child and be gentle with yourself, and, go as slow or as quick as you think is necessary based on your emotions, your child's emotions, etc. Now, if you are at the point where you are down to day and night, then really you can pick which feeding you want to cut out next. They both have their pros and they both have their cons. So it's really up to you and your child's demeanor. In my personal opinion, the morning feed is easier to cut out than the night feed. Because you can kind of wake up with them and immediately give them breakfast or immediately give them some milk or whatever it is, and then distract them as they're starting their day. So for me, I think the morning feed is easiest to cut out next. But you know your child best, you know you and your routine best, so you have to pick for yourself. As you get down to that last feed, so a couple days or a couple more weeks go by and you're ready to get down to that last feed. Usually, I think for most people, it's probably the night feeding or the bedtime feeding. So I would say that a routine is going to be your best friend, and making sure that you add those extra cuddles and snuggles and, mommy and baby time into that routine is key, because they still are going to just crave that touch and that, sense of, being with mom. So you can start by offering a bottle of milk if you'd like. You can give them a bottle before bed and, do some cuddling. I would also suggest adding in a lovey or a stuffed animal or something of some sort if you have not done so, because it just gives them, that little extra security that they can kind of hug and cuddle with at night. A way to do it more gradually, if you want to be kind of a more gentle approach, is just to maybe cut down on the amount of time that you're nursing before bed. So maybe before you offered both breasts, now maybe only offer one. Maybe before you nursed for 20 minutes, maybe start nursing for 15, and then 10, and then 5, and gradually kind of cutting down the time. I have heard of people using a song, so they will start, singing a song while they nurse, and then maybe they'll move to, only singing the song at the end of the nursing session, and then they will only sing the song without nursing at all, and that just kind of cues them to sleep. So they just try, putting them down and singing the song and seeing if that works. So that would be another gradual approach. You would do the whole song with the whole nursing for a few days, then a few days with just singing at the end, and then a few days of just singing and seeing if it works. I have not done that. It's just an approach that I've heard of, so I thought maybe it might help some of you if you might like to try it. Another thing that I have heard of people doing is counting, and just, counting to 10, say, or whatever number it is that you want, and that will cue baby that when you get to 9 or 10, the nursing session is coming to an end. And you can speed up the counting if you want the nursing session to end faster, or you can make it slower if you see they're really needing you. But I also think, thinking about my now 3-year-old, if I would have done this with her, she would have been like, no, don't count. She would have freaked out. So for me, I don't think that would have been a good strategy, but it is another one that I have heard people using. So if you hear your baby, though, saying, no, don't count, I think it's probably not the best approach to do, because it's probably a little bit traumatic or causing a little bit of anxiety that babies just don't need before sleep. So I would suggest trying one of the other things that I have mentioned instead of that if you see that they are having a little bit of backlash or anxiety about it. And then another way, if you really want to, end nursing at night, another thing you can do if you have, a spouse or someone living with you is just have that other person take over bedtime altogether. They can offer a bottle, or they can read, or they can do whatever routine they want, but you just won't be involved. So they won't be able to try to crawl at you and try to get to you if you're not in the room at all. So that is another option if you have someone else in the house that is willing to do that. And then another thing is at one, even though they can't really communicate with you very well, they understand a lot more than you might think. So actually just talking to them about why you might be wanting to wean or what's going on can actually just really help it be an easier transition. So just talking with them is another idea. Now, night weaning specifically, like middle of the night, if you're still struggling with that, that probably could be a whole video in itself. So I'm not really talking in this video about that, but if they're old enough and they do understand, at one, a lot of times they don't really nutritionally need that middle of the night feed, but if you're still struggling with that and they're old enough to understand, then maybe you can just try telling them, that milk doesn't happen until the sun comes up or something like that. I don't know, but that was something, with my 3-year-old, as when she was probably 13, 14, 15 months and she was trying to nurse at night, I would tell her, we don't nurse until the sun comes up, and she'd roll over and go back to sleep. So, it may work if that is something you are struggling with. Weaning can be such an emotional time, not just for baby, but for you too, and it is okay and completely normal to have those mixed emotions about nursing. It is truly liberating to get some of your freedom and personal space back, but it can also be so sad just losing that really special bond and connection with them, and it can make you feel a little rejected, honestly, if they take to weaning faster than you might have thought they would. So it is totally okay, whatever feelings you're feeling, if you're feeling happy, sad, rejected, angry, joyful, whatever the feelings you're feeling are totally normal and totally okay. It's your experience, it's your weaning celebration. So whatever you are feeling is totally okay. And if you need someone to talk about it with, go ahead. I don't mind. You can totally message me or leave a comment and I will try to get back to you. But I would just say be gentle with yourself in this process. Be gentle with baby and just move through it at your own pace and for whatever works for you. Thank you for watching. If you like this type of video, if you like the breastfeeding series, I have so many different aspects of breastfeeding that I could talk about. So let me know in the comments below what aspect you would like me to talk about. I have a few ideas, but if you have something specific you would like to know, leave it in the comments below so that I can, tailor a video for you. All right, I will see you next time.